Next into the tank is Derek Faulkner. Derek's a senior, also studying environmental systems and sustainability studies with a concentration on coastal and marine. And Derek is brewing up a kelp-based creation.
All right, thanks, Richard. All right, so what I'm designing is a value-added beverage, and it's utilizing kelp as an ingredient and a selling point. And so we were just talking about taste, and I'll get to that a little later as we go through. So for background, kombucha, what this is a fermented tea that's known for its health benefits, mainly antioxidant and probiotic. So this is kind of something that was previously more of a niche food. Now you can see this at chains like Stop and Shop. So for example, PepsiCo recently brought this company Kavita, which technically isn't actually a kombucha, but it's marketed right next to them, sold as sort of the same product. So in 2018, we saw the growth rate of kombucha was 40%. That's in the USA. So in 5 years, they're predicting sales revenue to hit like $2.5 billion. So it's a growing industry. My target audience would be in New England, people surrounding Long Island Sound, because that's the kelp industry that I'm looking to promote. So like Dan said, the LOHAS, that's a big market. We're looking at health conscious consumers, looking at consumers seeking carbonated alternatives to alcohol. We're looking at consumers looking to support small businesses, and ones looking that are concerned about the environment. So what this is would be, we'd be marketing the environmental benefits of kelp aquaculture added to the health benefits of kelp plus the health benefits of kombucha. And so what I liked about this was the feasibility. You know, I'm not exploring new territory, but the kombucha market already exists. This is prevalent in New England. It's a growing industry. We don't have to deal with much processing. We can use fresh kelp right here from Long Island Sound. We don't have to deal with drying or anything. This is just blended, you know, blanched, blended, frozen, and then we can use it in the product. And even once we have a facility established, a brewing site, we can essentially bypass a processing facility. So if we were getting creative, we could also market this. Kombucha can be non-alcoholic or alcoholic. So you have two options here to branch off into. There's already actually 2 tap rooms for kombucha in Connecticut, if anyone didn't know. And so I'm expecting with this industry growing to see more. And so similar to the craft beer industry, that's kind of what I'm looking at. It's almost like a model. And like Heather said, we have over 100 microbreweries now in Connecticut alone. And so similar to that interest, I mean, to that industry, we can also use contract brewing as a method of lowering the upfront cost. So we can brew this at another tap room. We can even use similar tactics that the small craft beer industry did to get the brand started. So sampling would be a big part of brand awareness. And like I mentioned earlier, taste wouldn't be an issue. So if anyone has ever tasted kelp, it's actually really mild. Once you blanch it, it's almost bland, to be honest. And there's actually multiple kombucha companies that are using algae in their products already. So a lot of them are targeting, they're looking at blue-green algae, which it's big in a health community. They're using that for its health benefits. So that has, to be honest, that spirulina, the blue-green algae, those things kind of have a nasty taste, to be honest. If you were to take a spoonful of that, you'd gag. So kelp, on the other hand, you can market this as a healthy ingredient, but it's very, very mild. You don't need a lot of this in the bottle. You just put a little bit in there and it's part of the product. This is something you could put as a base recipe for multiple brand variants, or you could have one flavor, I guess, that's just kelp based and other flavors based on the brand. So I'm actually going to work on some at home right now. It's really easy to make. Like I mentioned earlier, we don't need a lot of processing. You just essentially ferment tea. You got 2 stages, and the kelp would be added at that second fermentation when you bottle it. And yeah, that's it. Questions?
Wow.
Well, I got an idea for you. This is something, believe it or not, that Martha Stewart could be interested in. As the taste and style arbiter, and wanting to be bleeding edge with new things and so forth. That's her. She used to live here in Westport, and I knew people that worked with her. But for all the right reasons that you just mentioned, there's a brand out there that may want to have that could be a sidecar for you.
Okay. Okay.
So, once again, before you get started, I'm always a big believer. Let's find out who else is doing this, or something similar to it, and see if we can leverage their knowledge, their expertise, capitalize on the mistakes they made, and so forth. So, Matt.
Well, I was just thinking that in your group in New York, Jeff, between the people who know all about consumer packaged goods and the people who have no food, I mean, it seems like every one of these presentations touches on people you already know.
You're certainly welcome to send something to me if you'd like. I'll forward it to them and ask them to spend a few minutes with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. We can get in touch afterwards.
Sure.
What I like about this is that you're leveraging sort of what people have learned about craft beer.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't always want things that are generic. Does it matter what the SCOBY is like from one kombucha to the next?
That's the nice part about it. Glad that you know what that is, by the way. But so the kelp would be added to the secondary fermentation process. So it's not even dealing with the SCOBY.
Okay.
So it's almost like you're adding an ingredient after it's already been fermented.
So it's basically how vodka is made, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All the flavor you get of vodka, if there is any, is added after.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's the way we make it in Easton, Connecticut, anyway.
Hey, I grew up in the hills of Virginia. We used to make our own. So anyway, yeah. Okay, so I like that idea. And if you can make it so that there's some local variation to it, maybe just again, like with the craft beers, you'll have people who want to try it at home, that kind of thing. If you can capture that market too, then it gets really interesting, right?
Yeah.
They go to your place to see what it's supposed to taste like, and then they try it at home and say, well, we have a new variety this week. Come try. I guess it's also similar to the pot business in that way too, right?
Okay.
Right? So model it after things that already exist that have been successful with this kind of
One more thing.
business model. I think you could learn a lot. It might work.
Yeah. Do you think there's such a thing maybe as a kelp cookbook?
That's a good
Matt?
question.
Well, there are lots of parts of the world where people have been eating a lot of kelp for a long time.
Absolutely.
Right? So
There's like a dessert cookbook that everybody swears by. It's from some little restaurant in the middle of nowhere. Oh, I'm trying to remember what it is. If I can remember it, I'll stick it in here. But it's like if you go into, at least anybody my age, anyway, my generation, you go into their kitchen, you'll find one copy of this one cookbook that's only about desserts.
So here's where we ought to go with this. We ought to actually take this whole program, all of these kelp entrepreneurs, and get them on House and Garden TV, together with the Barefoot Contessa, okay, pedal to the broader health conscious audience.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey lives in New Haven, right? Clearly, you guys don't have wives who live watching the Barefoot Contessa while I'm washing the dishes. But these are brilliant ideas, every single one of them. And I think wrapped around the notion of locally sourced product that's environmentally sound. I think the key to all of the food things is it's got to taste good, right? I mean, it's. But I'm astonished by the quality of these presentations.
That's great.
We haven't even gotten to Lewis.
So actually, the cookbook, that's a great idea for Heather. Like that's something you could be handing out with purchase of a ticket for your event. For the festival, you get a cookbook when you come in.
Sure. And it, like Matt's right too. Parts of the world, folks have been eating this stuff for centuries. So there's got to be a cookbook somewhere or more, and get them translated.
Right. And people must have figured out how to make it taste good.
Well, we make a specific Long Island Sound cookbook. We play on that local aspect.
Right.
Sure, exactly. A little hint of diesel oil.
Okay. Very good.
Only once you get close to New York City.
Great.
with overtones of.
Matt, I want to tell you, I was down at the beach yesterday and the water is crystal clear.
You know, just so I shouldn't take everybody here off track, but if there is ever any evidence of the human impact on the environment, look how clean everything has gotten since people stopped consuming stuff. The air's clean, the water's clean.
No airplanes. Right.
Okay, well,
Even
awesome.
the noise pollution.
Next.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for watching. For more information, visit our website at www.futurefrogmen.org.